All right, so we are officially recording for the Coaches Kickstart Club call. It is May 22nd, 2019, and today we're going to do a Q&A. So this is about catering to what it is that you guys need or want to discuss. So there's a couple of different things. This could be a particular question that you have about a coaching skill or working with a client or getting business. It could be things that you maybe have been thinking about and processing as concepts that you would love to discuss and being able to, get some more thought around it from other people and perspectives. And any kinds of challenge that you might have or client challenges that you have that could be helpful. That would be great. So let me go ahead and pull a couple more people over to the big room, as I like to call it, and we will get going. Karen and I are just having a weird day today, though. We can't get focused, and we can't seem to laser in on things, right, Karen?
Yeah, I think it was because we ran and it was 80 something degrees out at 7:30 this morning, and I feel like my brain got fried.
I think that's true. Like we came back, it took us a while to cool down. We had some weird meetings today too. That was an interesting thing, but we are just sort of feeling pretty scattered and all around. And so when we're talking about what are we going to talk about today, we're like, let's just throw it back to them, let them come to us with ideas, and we will move forward with that, and it'll be the best thing possible.
Cool.
Good. All right. Let's get going. So I know we don't have a large group here, but for the people that are here, what is something that we can help you with? What's sort of running through your mind? Give everybody a moment to think. Oh, there has to be stuff. Otherwise we'll play Coaches Kickstart Club Roulette. And I know, Karen, you're like, what is that? Hang tight. So questions, comments, thoughts, you guys that are going for you, just go ahead and unmute yourself and fire away. Everyone's like, I just want to learn.
Hi, everybody. This is Melissa.
Okay.
I have a thought.
Good.
So I'm a fairly new coach. I started my own gig about a year ago now, and I have a corporate contract with a nonprofit, a global nonprofit where I worked for 11 years, and it's been going really well. It's been kind of an organic experience because it was supposed to be an in-person one-day leadership retreat. Mm-hmm. For a variety of reasons, and the team is all over, and for a variety of reasons, they couldn't do the in-person, so I did it virtually. So it's been 3 virtual webinars on the top topics that were of most importance to this leadership team. So it's been, and then I also baked in some coaching and an ELI and a bunch of different things because this is really my first go at it. But I knew some of the players, so that was my advantage. So anyway, it's wrapping up in July. And I have an opportunity to go to DC, and that's where the organization is based. And so I'm thinking about how to kind of scale and maybe, try to get some more business from the same nonprofit. So I guess I don't really have a well-formed question, but since no one else chimed in, I've been thinking about how to best market or package that. And I know you both have a lot of experience with that. So I just wanted to throw that out there and see what
Okay, so this, I love this topic. This is great. So let me do this, Melissa. I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then Karen and I are going to chime in. So you've been working with this team virtually to be able to hit these meetings. What are some of your observations that you have about the team? Like what's working well and what's not working?
So, I think the challenge for many is the fact that they have, it's 4 women leaders, and they have teams that are all over the United States. So there's the challenge of working virtually.
Right.
And communication, of course, is a challenge for a lot of teams. The first webinar was on creating a team vision. And then the next one that I'm working on for next week is on role definition and like clarity of roles. Because there's a lot of overlap with the work that this team does. And so I feel like, and then of course there's some interpersonal dynamics going on. So the last webinar we're doing is decision making and with a touch of difficult conversations. And then the individual coaching I've been doing as well has kind of tapped into some of these issues. So I think that I think that the team is really committed, to getting stronger with, and as I'm saying all this, I also think one of the big challenges is that their leader is incredibly conflict averse. So we're working on that. So, and they're all the leaders, they're all women, and they have a lot of level 4. I mean, it's a nonprofit. So I think that's typical, right? Yeah.
Okay. So just because not everybody knows levels. So level 4 translates into like helping and giving. It's actually not for profit work. Volunteers, it's care, it's compassion, and being of service to others is sort of a driver in people's behaviors and actions. So just to explain what that is. Okay, good. So you did the vision. You have 2 more webinars to go to complete this contract.
Correct. And then we're doing a final wrap up. And then another part of this is for me to help these leaders really think about how they want to take it back to their larger team. Okay. And as I'm going through this, I mean, like I said, it's all been kind of organic and I'm learning a lot. But as I'm going through this, I feel like the next step is really helping them to get to that place where they can take this back to their team and do like an in-person workshop where they can, because clearly the whole team needs to be involved in talking about role definition and clarity and all those other things.
Okay. So here's what pops up to me. So no matter what,
Jen, can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Your work has been with 4 women leaders via webinar, and this is for how long?
So it's a 6-month engagement.
Okay.
And we've never done anything in person. I do know one of the leaders personally from my past work, but other than that, it's all been virtual.
Okay. And then my next question is, these 4 women leaders, how many direct reports do they have?
So it varies. The director has 5 direct reports, and then the others have probably an average of between 4 and 6.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Kara?
No, I think that's good for right now.
Yeah, you think that's good? Okay. No, good. Okay, so here's what Karen and I often do that we find is super, super, super successful. So when you work with a team for as long as you do, Melissa, you are going to notice and have observations about opportunities. You're going to know where things are going well. You're going to know where things are not going well and what still needs to be uncovered. So one possibility is and it depends on the timing with it, but to be able to go in and present to them observations and recommendations, right? And part of that is you're going to share things like, the observation is the vision that was, I'm just making this part up, I don't know the details, but the vision that was created is compelling and people are engaged, and a recommendation on how to keep the momentum going is to have it as totally making this up, a screensaver on everybody's computer, whatever. An observation is that there still seems to be some adversity to conflict among the executive leadership teams that is leaving amazing opportunity for blah, blah, blah on the table. My recommendation is to have a company-wide healthy conflict workshop to be able to bring these together and then work with the director one-on-one. So what another observation would be that the communication still seems to be a challenge. So coming up with a template on how emails are structured. Here's an example. So some you're going to give them to implement on their own. Some are going to be things that you can do that require no cost on their part. Like, here's a tip, go implement it now. And then the third is hire me back. And that's really because you have such good insight by working with these 4 women on how to do that. You could also do a cascade approach for the 4 women. So coming up, oh, I have one more thing. Okay, but being able to teach these people then how to go and do the same exercises with their team. The other big opportunity is virtual. How do we, there's a big opportunity. I've noticed that people are still struggling with being a virtual organization. And so having a special workshop on how to work virtually and setting expectations around that, I recommend having that company-wide, something like that. Yeah. Kara was going to say something.
I was just going to ask another question. Are they ever in the same place at the same time?
Yes, they do. Oh. They do have retreats and global meetings and things like that.
Good. Be there. That's that in my head. That's the thing that I would want to shoot for the most is how do you make that seem like a no-brainer that all these people are in the same room at whatever it is, a meeting, a retreat, and how do they maximize what it is that you've taught these people, like that you've taught these leaders. You can help them be able to have a better relationship with their people by being in the same room, by going through some of the same stuff that you actually went through with them.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
I got to tell you, that would be my goal.
Yeah.
Just get you. And I think that, and I'm trying to think how to say this, but I think that so many times virtual stuff is a cop-out. Mm-hmm. And people are like, well, it's easy. Like, all right, well, and don't get me wrong, because it's easy. Like, look, we're all over the place right now, and we're in a virtual meeting. But the thing is that in the business world, so many times it is so easy for you to be in a certain spot. Like you just said, hey, I might go to DC. Go to DC. Mm-hmm. So the in-person thing, one of the things that Jen and I will do all the time is it doesn't matter if we're having our first phone call, our first meeting with somebody, if we're having, it doesn't matter what is, our recommendation always, if it's reasonable, right? We want to meet them in person. If it's not reasonable, we want to meet them on Zoom. And if that doesn't work, our last resort is the phone. But we would rather just get in a room with people and then start having conversations, because then what it turns out to is we wind up asking them questions. And the great part about it is we ask them questions from kind of like the coaching standpoint about, hey, where they are, where they want to go, and then helping them see that we're going to be the thing that's going to help them get there. And one of the things that popped up for me when you were actually talking was what got you here won't get you there, right? So they've gotten to a certain spot. How do we help them get to that next spot? And you are open and willing to be a part of their retreat. Like, you don't have to be there, if it's a long thing, you don't have to be there the whole time. Let you be a part to set it up, right? Let's let you be like a kickoff or the first morning or something like that for you to be able to start to get people thinking the way you want them to think.
Yeah, thank you both. That's super helpful advice.
There's something else, Kara, that you just made me think of. So I'm going to give 2 examples. So today, Karen and I had a meeting with 2 other people, and we it switched a little bit at the end of what we thought was going to happen, but that doesn't matter. We said, let's be on Zoom, and sent Zoom links. Karen and I were out of the 4, we're the only 2 on camera. So we actually didn't get to see them, but it didn't matter. Because I think since we had never met them, it was sort of a sensitive subject and all of this, it actually gave them more trust because they could see our faces. So while we could not pick either of them out of a lineup, even to this moment, that's okay, because we felt they were more open because they could see us. And so that's from that relationship and seeing perspective. The other thing you could do is offer to help facilitate the retreat. It depends on what's happening and what's going on. So an example would be, we have one company we're still in very, very early stages with, and we're brainstorming ideas on how we can be helpful. And they have a leadership I think 1 day experience, and we would be there in the morning, and then we ask, can we stay for the whole thing? In fact, we'll help. It's a strategy day. We'll help facilitate that part of it. So not that we have to prepare anything or teach anything, but we just get to say, what's our objective? How do we hold you to it? And then how do we make sure that to be able to listen about what's going on? So based on that, we can make observations and recommendations. It's a great way to work, and we know we have to be there the whole day. But we will get such good insight into how the leadership team will interact. So we said we'd like to, if possible, facilitate that. So that's another way to be able to be a part of it and not be responsible for the meeting, but yet really see what's happening and showcase some of our facilitation skills. So good. That was great. See, that was a perfect thing to bring up.
Thank you both.
All right. So I know some people just joined us. This is open opportunity to ask a question, bring something up, get some feedback, get some advice. If you want coaching on something, we can do that too. But what else is coming up for people? Something that you want help with?
Hey, this is Laurel.
Hi, Laurel.
How are you? This is really cool to have this opportunity. But I'd like to ask you as a question I think you've answered many times before. But it's about thinking about setting up a workshop. So I think I have some pretty good ideas. But I'd like to hear what you guys think are like the three critical steps. The first places to go and thinking about whether it's worth pursuing, thinking about. Be great to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. So do you mean, so I want to just have clarity. Is it about actually doing a workshop or creating the content for the workshop?
It's actually the latter.
Okay.
I'm pretty comfortable. So I wear two hats. I consult as a scientist, and so I have a fair amount of experience going in and consulting, plus I do coaching of individual clients. But I have the idea of sort of marrying those two and stepping into some folks in the medical field where there's a high level of stress and working on some coaching ideas there.
Love it. All right. Perfect. Okay. A lot of different ways to approach this. Kara, do you want to go first or would you like me to? I think she muted herself, but I think she said go. That was that pointing at me.
That was go. I was refilling my Yeti.
And trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
All right. So Laura, here's what I would do. So I love workshops. I think it's a great idea. I definitely think it's something you should do because people love them. They're useful and they're just, to me, they're super fun. So what I would probably do is, let me ask this. So do you want to do a workshop around stress? Is that?
So I'm an IPEC grad, and there's a pretty cool publication that shows that for young physicians just starting their career, there's a pretty good correlate between their energy and their success. It's not particularly surprising or rocket science, but it's a really good stepping off point to talk about how energy impacts their practice and how, it really is going to start with their thoughts, even down to how do you move from one patient to another and sort of leave one person in one room and move to the next room. So I think that's sort of my concept is to, I guess as a bucket, you would call it stress. Yeah. But it's, in a broader bucket, it's more about being successful long-term in your career.
Okay, good. Awesome. Okay. So the way I would approach this is I would actually write a description of the workshop as if it was going in a course catalog, right? So I just sort of think like somebody's going through a course catalog and say, I want to take it. So basically it's going to say things like, in this highly interactive, because that's what ours are, in this highly interactive workshop, physicians are going to learn how the pressures of owning a practice, dealing with insurance companies, and seeing a lot of patients in a short period of time is affecting the way they show up at work. And they're going to walk away with tips and techniques on how to be more mindful, how to understand how their energy affects their practice, and be able to be more present with the patients they want to serve. Something like that. Okay.
I do that so easily.
I do. I know. And then if I have to do it for myself, I'm like, here, what should we say? So anyway, but something like that, because then all of a sudden you have an outline. When you write it in that, then what I do is I say, okay, what's the outline? So part of it is you have to have the concept that's going to be overarching for the physicians of what do they need to know, which is probably going to be something about how their thoughts create their feelings, create their actions, right? And so, and then how does that actually affect their energy? So if you want to do the energy stuff, you can bring that in. But it's usually about what is the topic, who is the person in relationship to the topic, like why do they care, what do they need to know, and how are they going to overcome their biggest challenge. And so by doing that description and then sort of breaking down that into an outline, you have enough to actually begin to market it. You don't have to have it written in order to have people there.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing, to see if there's enough people. And then part of it is that, are you going to do it in person or virtual?
My plan is to do it in person.
Okay, great. So then it's about saying, so how do people get to hear what a concept is, learn how it applies to themselves, and then do something physical to cement that, right? So small group activities, things on flip chart papers, some different types of exercises that get people moving around the room is the recommendation about how to be able to structure that, so that it's more than just you telling people things. They have to be able to experience it and go into a smaller format. So that's at a super pretty high level.
Right.
And then tell me what other specific questions did you have something, Kara?
Well, what just made me think of the one extra question, Jen, too, was what do you want them to walk out the door with? And if you got inside their head, what do they want to walk out the door with? And while you were talking about this being the medical field and this being an interactive kind of thing, isn't in the medical field they have this thing called see one, do one, teach one? Yeah. And it's and that would be kind of a cool thing to actually to do an exercise around whatever they're gonna see you maybe do something and help somebody shift somebody's energy, and then they get to actually do it, and then they could show each other different ways and feedback or something like that to be able to tie a little bit of the medical thing into it.
Right. I like the idea too of making it interactive, because what I'm thinking is to go in with people who are really either just starting out or even potentially pitching this in one of the PA schools that's near where I live, where they really have a lot of stress, and working it almost like a classroom kind of thing. But I think that they will have many of their own solutions once they start thinking about, what does this stress mean to me? What have I already seen going in? And they're going to have access to a lot of different methods that I might not even think about. So that interaction piece is really key.
Totally.
Yeah. Having people group together at flip charts to, even brainstorm things like this. Let's say you say, so when you look at your calendar and you're overbooked with patients, you have tons of forms that need to be filled out, and somebody calls in sick, what runs through your mind? And have them write down things, and then all of a sudden you can correlate that to then how does that affect your day? How does that affect how you're showing up? When you think you're, behind the 8 ball and you'll never get ahead, what does that do to your overall demeanor and your energy for the day, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's particularly cool because you can actually really get a great, and I can imagine sitting in that room and people go, yeah, oh, I feel that, or I think that too. And then connecting that to then how are they, in the next step, that ripple effect that happens. You can imagine what happens if you have a really lousy patient, what happens when you walk into the next room and get people to pile on about how you shift your thoughts to make the next patient have a better experience, right?
Love that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's really cool. But that course description for me, and thanks for that, Jenn, is a real key because it does create an outline. And when you express it in a way that sets up the problem and the solution and the walk away, it's pretty cool.
Yep. And a key thing is, you guys, is we all have different tools that we like to use, right? So it might be this assessment, that assessment, this tool. The tools are not the workshop. The tools support why people attend the workshop. So a lot of times people just want to market the tool, right? So yeah, we're just going to do energy leadership, or we're just going to do emotional intelligence, or we're just going to do, the whatever. And it's realizing the tool is secondary to why the people want to come. The tool will help them. They'll give them ideas. They'll give them a framework to place their thoughts around. Everything okay over there, Karen? All right. You had no reaction. So we shared this wall so I could hear that happening. Okay. Remember that the tool is the way to express the concepts more so than why people will show up, which is good. So this is a great book. I was looking for it. It's called Game Storming, and it's a playbook for innovators, rule breakers, and change makers. I've often shared this one before that has a lot of different interactive types of activities to be able to use and get ideas from. And there's a lot of just really simple ways to break things down to getting people to apply things for themselves, right? Concepts for themselves. So a worksheet is nice, but getting people to move around and talk to others really works out well. And if you ask a large group of people a question, a lot of times you will get silence. The best thing to do is to get them in pairs, right? At the beginning, get them, if there's only 2 people that have to talk, you kind of have to talk. If I have 45 people, I'll let someone else go I won't. Karen will let someone else go every single time, right? So it's the smaller the groups, or groups of 3, is a great way to go.
Yeah. Can I ask you one more question? And that's when you're starting to basically take that out and shop it around. Like, I have this idea for a workshop. How much do you ask people who are potential clients or the decision maker about bringing a workshop in? How much do you ask them for their input about what they need and what they think their group needs?
So, Karen, do you want to answer first? I always jump in first. So would you like to go?
You can go, Jen. Go right ahead. I want to know first question I have here, though, is who's paying for it?
So in this case, maybe I'm talking about the person who could be paying for it. So the dean of a school, or the head of a medical office or something.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's for a specific team or organization, I always like to say, I think this is something that I do often, and I often work with teams around these types of things. And the beautiful thing is I can customize it for what you feel is important for the team. The concept is A, B, and C. What challenges do you think your team is experiencing in this? Yeah. How do you think this is affecting the way the work is being done? And what ways of culture, what ideas do you have? Definitely, if there's a single leader that they would pay for everybody, I love to have the team person share some ideas with it, which we may or may not take. Or we might say, yes, we will do that, and then figure out a different way to do that. But if it's individual self-pay, I would stay strong and true to your curriculum, what you've developed, you could send a survey beforehand to find out where people are with the topics, but I wouldn't have it change a lot of what you're doing. You could then just have different examples to use. So, yeah.
And the thing too is, and this was something that I had learned, years back when I was actually a contractor for a company, and I was involved with meetings with the HR people, and one of the people that was going to be in this group, and I get to this, and the place that I was doing the contracting for, they did a lot of the setup. I just had to show up, and like I said, I had been in a couple meetings, but the boss was never in any of those meetings. So I walk in the door, I have my whole day, I got notes, I got a PowerPoint, I got all the things that they gave me to go do here. And within the first probably half hour, maybe 40 minutes, the president of the company says, "Are you going to talk about this shit all day long?" And I went, I don't well, I said, I was planning on, but I don't have to. What do you want? And just closed the laptop, ditched the notes, and found out then what was it that every person in that room needed to get out of that meeting for it to be successful. The reason why I'm telling you this is you don't know what the leader's going to be like if you don't talk to that leader. So you don't want them throwing that wrench in and being like, well, I thought we were talking about, I don't know, some hospital thing. And then all of a sudden we're talking about some other hospital thing. So getting as much information as you can from that leader ahead of time is going to set you up for success, and it's going to make your job a lot easier.
Great. Thanks.
I remember that, Kara. I was your trophy wife that weekend, or that week. I got to go along, and I hung out by the pool while she did that. It was fantastic. I felt very, yeah. Right? Is that the thing we're thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, good. Okay, good. All right. So perfect. Laurel, thank you very much. And Sarah is giving you a shout out saying she loves this. So who's just in the notes, so many opportunities for this with physicians and PAs and residency programs. All right, who's next?
It's
Question?
Sarah.
Yeah, go Sarah.
Yeah, can I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I just got off. I'm kind of like in two worlds right now. Like I'm still working full time, but trying to transition into coaching full time. And I just got off a webinar with my full time where we were presenting our product in that world to residents. So Laurel, I was like, oh my gosh, and residents too, because they would eat that up because they're like getting ready to, like go in. So anyhow, okay, so I did a big pitch. Well, in my mind, it was big because it was my first one to a corporation a few weeks ago. And I put a ton of time and effort into it. Like I met with a couple of the employees, and then they put me in touch with the HR leaders. And I sat down with HR and was like, what are you guys looking to build with the program and this and that? And they kind of gave me some information. And then they kind of kicked it to me and said, okay, put together everything that you can do. So it was I call it the kitchen sink proposal, right? So I put together this thing, and it was massive. It was a beast. Cause I put in a really nice long synopsis of, these are all the things that we talked about. These are things I'm hearing from your employees. And so I could do a hybrid of one-on-one coaching with your leaders, and then also how they're going to be managing their teams, and then also do, company-wide workshops. So, I mean, I really threw everything at this, right? Mm-hmm. And they looked through it and they were like, yeah, this sounds great, but really it needs to be, the individual needs to decide what they want to do, if they want to engage in coaching and, kind of blah, blah, blah. But we'll keep this on file, okay, if something down the road happens. So I think what happened, because this kind of ties into what Karen was just saying, I made a mistake. Number one mistake, I was just I didn't get to the leader, the president of the company, right? I never talked to him about what he wants, because it has to start top down. So I guess I don't really know what my question is other than like, how do you, I guess maybe my question is, how do you stay motivated in that, like, how do I keep going and like keep moving, like not necessarily with this company, but because it's great. Like now I know I can do it. And I know that like I put together, like I have like the outline of all that stuff, but like, what tips do you have like going forward with somebody that like, that was their first experience?
Okay. So I'm just going to say one thing real quick, Jen, and then you can jump in, and then I'll piggyback off you. But I think one of the biggest things, Sarah, is what I hear is when people make do their proposals and then they have their conversations and they don't get the gig, they're like, oh my gosh, they said no. And what I just heard is they didn't say no, they said not now. Yeah. And the not now is so important to hang on to. And I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, Jen and I worked with, and we were, it's a crazy kind of situation, but from November of 2017 until just the beginning of this month, we're going back and forth with the company, and they're like, no, not now. And I would reach back out. And they're like, no, not now. And I would reach back out. No, not now. And now we're finally having some conversations about what we could possibly do for a sales meeting for them. But the thing is, if I would have been like, if they don't want us, forget about it. That's not true, because really think so many people are like, they don't want it. And they just don't want it right now. There's another company that we're working with that changed HR directors 2 or 3 times. We're training human resources training and development people like 2 or 3 times. And we've finally got this one person, actually, Jen, I need to send her an email today, that we spoke with. And then the last time we talked to her, she's like, well, I'm getting promoted. So give me about 2 months and I'll connect you to my, the person that's going to take my position. So remembering, it's just, okay, how do you stay plugged in? How do you stay connected to whoever it is that you need to stay connected to?
Yeah. Because like it's not like it's a totally, like I planted the seed, right? And who knows where that's going to go. So maybe it's like, how do I stay like engaged with them without being like, are you ready now? Are you ready now? Are you ready? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my recommendation on that is to just an email here and there to stay relevant, right? Okay. To stay there when they know now what you can do. You might need to remind them of what you can do. And Jen, do me a favor, just hop on that I gotta get this call.
Oh, you do? Okay. So I'll pick up on that. So let me ask this. So, and I heard the question, but I want to ask something else. Sarah, what is their biggest challenge? Like, what were they talking to you about?
So their biggest challenge right now is that they have managers, leaders that are in these positions that like, it's classic, right? They were good at their job, so they just got promoted through the ranks, but they're not necessarily like ready to lead a team, lead the team, deal with the conflict, like the hard conversations, like those kinds of things.
Okay, perfect. So there's a couple of things. The reason I asked that is because that's one way to stay connected with your person. You find an article about what Karen and I like to call the critical shift, about how do new managers struggle with becoming leaders, how tips on health, on feedback, tips on just articles in Harvard Business Review and Fortune and Forbes, anything having to do with that you feel would be relevant, and say, we talked back in May and I saw this article and I was wondering how your new managers are doing. This might be a great resource for you. So it says, I heard your problem, I care about your problem, and now I'm sending you information about your problem, and I'm still around. So it's a great way as opposed to, are you ready right now? You're almost still partnering with them from afar, By just saying I'm thinking of you. We have this one company that is a retailer, so they're in many malls, and we just were in New York City at Hudson Yards, and it's the brand new mall that's there. We took a photo of their store and said, "Oh my God, we're just walking through this brand new facility that just opened last week, and your sign looks amazing. Just thinking of you," and sent that to them. So it's about how do you stay connected through their business problem. Okay.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Kara, are you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. And I think that the thing is that you want them to be constantly, not constantly in an annoying, stalking kind of way, but when you want them to always know what it is that you can solve. Right. So it's a no-brainer for them, right? When this is going on, boom, Sarah's the go-to person. So making sure that they, in your emails, that you're throwing some highlights again out of what it is that you can do for them, not necessarily from a sales kind of way. Because I think it's a whole lot better, like Jen just said, sending the articles, sending hey, I was just thinking about you, sending the photos, those kind of things, rather than just, hey, when can we jump on the phone so we can talk about the program? Like don't do any of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about your proposal. So one great thing is, since it's a kitchen sink proposal, you now have such great data for any other proposal you create. Yeah. So first and foremost, even though you're like, oh my God, I worked so hard on that, spent all this time and energy, and now they're just sort of like, we'll put it in a file. But you have that, so you'll be able to pull things. My question to you is, did the proposal talk about more of what you could do in terms of one-on-one coaching, teams, and workshops? Or was it, here's my approach on how I would work with new managers who aren't used to being in leadership positions?
That's a really good question. So I think that the bulk of what I put in was this is what we talked about, right? These are the areas of improvement or, needs that, I could meet, whatever problems to solve. And then I put in how we could do that. But yeah, maybe that's what I missed was what that is, what is that step-by-step approach?
Yeah. So here's the thing, you guys, that you are all experts as coaches, right? And we know that, but you have to talk their language. So, regardless, just from a learning perspective here, the proposal is when they say, tell us everything that you can do, you tell them what you would do first. Right. So the objective is that they're, in an organization X, Y, and Z, we have a lot of new managers that are running up against the challenges of going from best friend to boss, how to get performance reviews, how to motivate the team, and how to really elevate their style to be able to meet the business needs. I just made that up. I don't know what it is, but you'll know that. So to say, my first recommendation for phase 1 is to do the following: to have a 6-month program where managers will learn, and then you have outcomes, right? And topics maybe that workshops would be around, or something that talks about the business needs. And our approach to doing that is having 6 team meetings plus individual coaching. So almost the approach on how you do that is so secondary, third, it's not third gear. Thank you. Yeah. And that's more of how you will execute it, not why they need the program. So one is to say, I hear your business problem. I understand your business problem. I'm a subject matter expert at people who are newly promoted into management positions and don't know what to do. And here's the 5 things that they need to learn in order to step into that position with, with grace and authority, who knows? And then how you'll be able to do that. So, and then say, and that's phase 1 recommendation. Based on that, we could then talk about a train the trainer program, or how do we do, as I mentioned, a cascading program. And so then you're not leaving things off the table, but you're coming in really as a subject matter expert. Even if you're not, don't worry about that. But you know enough about human behaviors and mindsets and kinds of things, but you have to speak to it about where it's creating a business problem for them.
And I think another way to position that too, on top of what Jen just said, is to set it up as a pilot program. Because when people hear pilot program, they think, okay, great, if this doesn't work, we're done. And it's like, ooh, they think it's probably going to be less expensive. It's kind of like a trial basis. And it makes it more attractive.
So, Sarah, does that make sense? Like I said, I haven't read your proposal, and you maybe included a lot of that in there, but.
Yeah, I think I did include a lot of that in there, but I think I could have definitely beefed, I could have shrunk some other parts and beefed up other parts, right? Maybe the percentages were off on that kind of content. But I'm curious too, from the pilot program perspective, how would you pitch that? Or what would that look like?
Just the same way that you pitch what you're pitching, but it's just, we're going to try it for X amount of months. So let's say you created a year-long program. I would even just say, hey, listen, we're going to try this for 3 months. And this is what I'm thinking about for a 3-month program, if they were saying something about the timing of it.
Okay.
Or it might be a year-long program. And okay, for this first time, we're going to do this rate because it's going to be a pilot program. We're going to work out some kinks. We're going to see what we need to do. And then we're going to change things up the next time.
Okay.
And it could be for 10 people. Maybe they have 50 people that are part of it. Let's run it through for 10 people. And we can see in 3 months if it's going well, we'll start the second group to go through. And we'll stagger the approach. So different things like that.
Okay.
Okay. So now here's the thought that's coming up for me. So the thing is that, so here's what I hear when they say, well, people need to really sign up for coaching on their own, and we're really not sure, but we'll keep your information. Then what I would say is, it sounds to me like you have an environment where coaching is a great solution to help your people. So a thought would be, what if we did a pilot program to be able to give the people opportunity for coaching if they want? We would offer a retainer. It would focus only on newly appointed managers, and the topics would be around X, Y, and Z, feedback, blah, 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 that people could call and get one-on-one on-demand coaching to help them through a tough situation in real time. So you would be on retainer with the company. And they use it or lose it, meaning if people don't take the sessions, they're gone. It's a little bit different than a traditional coaching relationship, because it's like it can be a one and done session, right? So you're just more using your coaching skills to help them figure out what they need to do. But that might be the next phase proposal to them based on what they told you. They want people to sign up for coaching on their own, but they still need it. So an example is, Karen and I did this with an organization. We went on retainer. Karen, was it 6 months total?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did 3 months as a pilot, and it worked so great. They signed up for 3 more, and then we actually made the recommendation after the 6th month that they don't need it anymore. And what we did is we took about 10% of the population that we knew we had exposure to, and offered 25 30-minute slots per month, because they had 250 people. They had 25 30-minute slots per month that it was coaching on demand. And there was rules and regulations. You had to send an email to request. It's completely confidential, but we could tell themes to HR. There's a lot of people who are having a hard time with, accountability. Maybe we should do a class on that. So anyway, and then what happens is that people we call get those scheduled, and we were able to support people in the organization right when they needed it in the moment. And we did it for 6 months, and it was great. And we just charged a flat monthly fee. And if they didn't use the sessions, they did not get money back. If they were to go over the sessions, which we didn't think, like the number they were allowed, we would have figured that out, but we knew they weren't going to. And sure enough, if we had 25 spots, we were averaging about 22, 23 a month, which was perfect. So we actually made more money than we originally anticipated. We totally serviced the client in a great way. The 6-month numbers dropped down, and that's when we said it was maybe time to stop.
And my guess is that we'll do it again probably in September, because we're going to build momentum again, because we're going to do another presentation for their organization. So we'll get in front of them again. We'll see them again. We'll fire them up again. They'll want to talk to us again, and we'll probably do another 6 months.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That makes total sense. Yeah. It's got my wheels turning for sure.
Good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When somebody says no, they just mean not now. Mm-hmm. And then it's about, okay, given the data they just gave me, how can I turn this? What can I do with this? What are they really saying? And they may say no, but they may say yes. And the thing about going is, you're going to have people say yes to you, and you're going to have people say not now, and you're going to have people say no. And it's just part of the gig. And it's about the desire to know. There are thousands upon thousands of corporations or individuals who will hire you, or want coaching, or want to do organizational improvement. They are out there and they need us. That just maybe wasn't the one right now. And, and Karen and I go through it too. Some people say no, and we're like, all right, who's next? Because we know they're out there. And it's just about realizing that it takes a few to be able to get that consistency going, especially when you're starting out, because, you're looking for, the referrals are helpful and case studies are helpful. And when you're first starting to try to make this your full-time gig, it sort of feels like you don't have that, but somebody will say yes, and all of that will keep going. I know that. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So, all right, you guys, if you have other questions, just post them. Hopefully you're a part of our Facebook group. If you're not, send me an email. Let me know. I'll get you squared away. And my email is Jenn, Jenn, at KickStart Your Edge. And on that note, Sullivan, we have one more phone call. And then what do we have?
We don't have one more phone call. We have 3 more phone calls.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we have 3 more phone calls. And then what do we have?
The pool.
The pool. I know. That's all I've been looking forward to all day. I just want to lay in a wrap and I want to read a book. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So thank you guys for being a part of this, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.